First up, in
Sure.
regards to supporters travelling over, how valuable is it on a game day in a foreign state, foreign ground to have the hometown support?
Oh, very valuable for us. I think we've seen here when we have a really one-sided crowd, how it can really affect the players and really drives them along. So I guess if we get a really good spread of supporters across there, it does nullify that effect for Hawthorn. So we know there's going to be hopefully a really big crowd there. So we want as big a share as possible to support the players.
Given it's quite a costly exercise for some people to do so in terms of their household budget and stuff, are you guys, as the footy club and players and coaches, aware of how, I suppose, extreme some supporters are in their lengths to support you?
Oh, most definitely, and it's it's a massive call for people to organise themselves to get across there. But at the same time, not everyone has access. If things go well, to be able to get grand final tickets. So this could be a real opportunity to get across there and get to what could be one of the most memorable games in the club's history. Certainly, experience says that preliminary finals are often better games than the grand finals in many respects, and the feeling that a supporter would get if they went across and were able to be successful would be a very memorable occasion, I'd suspect.
Malcolm Blight said on the weekend that there's got a lot of feelings with 97 because no one rated you against the boys. No one rates you now against Hawthorn. Do you agree with that at all?
I think, I can't remember exactly back to 97, it was a long time ago, but we probably rate a little bit more highly back then than what we are this week. I think someone might have mentioned to me that Hawthorn are the shortest price favourites ever to go into a prelim final, and that's fine, but I guess internally it's what matters, and we certainly believe that we can go over there and win the game. So, the bookmakers can put whatever odds they want on the game. We'll certainly believe that we can do it.
Is it a good position to be in? Is that something that the players can use to... I know they're going to be motivated anyway. Does it help?
I don't think it helps or hinders, really. It's just about us preparing the players as best we can. And I mentioned we've got really strong belief, and I think the players would have got enormous confidence out of the weekend and their ability to respond to difficult situations. And certainly, in the second quarter, 5 goals down and staring at a straight sets exit, thought the character was outstanding to be able to respond to that, keep their composure and go on and have a win was something they'll get a lot out of.
That could be a telling day when it comes to injury rehab and so forth. Jared Petrenko, can you just give us the early, I know it's only Monday, but an early take?
Yeah, look, he's quite buoyant in terms of his chances. Obviously it's going to be tough for him to get up, and the style of play that he plays, he's a pretty rugged type of player, but at the same time he's also very professional and very determined young man. So we're buoyed by the fact that he certainly hasn't been ruled out, and I think he's out running around today, which is probably a good sign, but it's still very early on.
Given how Hawthorn like to chip the ball around their backline, how important is he to your structure?
Look, he's important, not just to structure, but also his his attack on the opposition is really good, and he's he's fervent in his pressure. But having said that, if it's not Jared, we've got plenty of other options for people to be able to play that role, and not dissimilar to the last 2 weeks. Both Fremantle and Sydney have tried to get numbers behind the ball, so we've had a little bit of practice in our ability to try and make sure they don't create that overlap from defence.
That role requires a heck of a lot of physical presence onto an opposition now. How do you think test shoulders in that regard?
Yeah, I guess it's there's a little bit of, you take a little bit of responsibility as a player in being honest about how you're feeling, but also it's not like we'll play him without testing it at some stage. So I'd suggest later in the week, if he was still in the mix, that he would have to prove to the coaching staff that it is capable of standing up. And we've seen how brutal the final series have been so far this year, or finals games, I should say. So it's going to have to be, pretty solid for him to take his place in the side.
You were working with the forwards, so can you mount an argument or an argument against Josh Jenkins and the 3-12 factor?
Against or for?
Which?
Yeah, most definitely. We've shared that we'll split that structure throughout the year in terms of when we played 3 tools, when we played 2 tools. We've had success with both and failure with both, so it's not like we're really set on one way. I guess we look at each time the conditions, the opposition, the way we want to play against them, and what the opposition's strengths and weaknesses are, and we come and pick a team that we think is the best. It gives us the best chance of winning. So, if we think that 3 tools is the way to go, we'll have no hesitation in picking Josh.
Is there a better argument for him this week because of Hawthorn's defence?
Maybe slightly better. I think last week as well. The forecast wet conditions, night game, that probably in some respects made it a little bit easier or harder for Josh to get in. Easier for us to go with 2, but this week it will be a whole new ball game, and it'll be judged on his merits again.
What do you thought of the debate on Kurt Tippett?
What's the debate?
That he shouldn't be playing because he doesn't have the form or doesn't look interested.
Oh, who's saying that? Is that your opinion?
You would have to be very deaf in the stand if you haven't had that debate arguing around.
Well, who's going to be our second ruck?
That's the question I'm asking. So.
Well, I'm saying to you that Kurt is an integral part of our team. 3 weeks ago, I think he took 16 marks against Melbourne and performed really well. On the weekend, Kurt takes the best defender and Taylor Walker takes the second best and kicks 5 goals. So his position in the team is very, very important, and I don't think can be understated. So last time we played Hawthorn, I think Kurt took 4 contested marks inside 50, 6 shots on goal. So I'm certain that Alistair Clarkson would love to play a team minus Kurt Tippett. So he will be in our side.
Mark, no Sam Shaw this week. Andy got out there with the boys today. Is he most likely, do you think, at this stage?
Oh, look, we've got a few options with players. How we can look at that. Rick Henderson went back, similar size to Sam, and played some footy back there. So we'll look at all that. But I guess we're probably fortunate in the fact that we're delving pretty deep into our key position stocks in terms of defenders. Lost a couple in previous couple of years, and then lost a couple with injury late this year. So to be able to have a player of the calibre of Andy, had finals experience before, bigger body, and has proven that he can stand up and play on a big stage. That's probably a fortunate position to be in.
What do you take out of the loss to Hawthorn? I know it was very early in the season. What do you take out of that?
Look, I think they had 140 uncontested marks that day, so to be honest on the workout, we need to do that a little bit better. You mentioned it was very early on. I think we were still coming to terms with the game style that we really wanted to play, and we've improved a heck of a lot since then. So there'll be a few things we'll take out of it, but there'll be vastly different personnel. I think there's 5 different players that'll play this week than played in that game. So you're talking about quarter of the side.
It was probably one of Taylor's worst performances of the season as well. Him in great form might make a big difference.
Yeah, that's right. I think he had 4 touches that day, and certainly didn't have one of his better days. Probably, like I said, his worst performance for the year. So we can take a little bit out of that. I think when you look back, the game probably got away from us in the second half, but certainly first half we moved the ball okay from memory, and as I mentioned, Kurt took some contested marks and probably didn't that day, but could have very well been even at half time. So we'll look at some of the ways we moved the ball, and like I said, vastly different though, because we've played a lot better since then.
Mark, given the extent of comment about a soft draw and you're saying Hawthorn are the shortest odds or whatever, how significant is that self-belief? Is it more than it has been previously?
Once again, it's never been an issue for us to soft draw. I think the year before we were down to play West Coast twice, and they finished bottom, and they ended up finishing top 4. So the draw is difficult for a lot of different reasons every year, and all you can do is play the teams that you come up against. So, and in some respects, whilst there's some pluses about the way the opposition you play against in terms of playing some of the lower ranked teams, you could also argue that it didn't really help us going into our first finals game, coming off 2 or 3 soft games, whereas Sydney perhaps came off some much more intense games. So the draw, has its anomalies, in all different ways and means. So our belief has never wavered. We've always said throughout the year that that we're building in terms of what we want, how we want to play, and our game style, and we've always had strong belief. And I think one of the things that we've done really well is our ability to win close games. So we've done that. I think if you're talking about games under 2 goals, one on the weekend, so it's probably 4 out of 5, I reckon, for the year. And I think the way you do that is by having belief that your structures will stand up and that your players will stand up. So that's something that's never been a problem throughout the year.
How much does that strengthen the side for you to be able to consistently do that?
Sorry?
How much does it strengthen the side within?
Oh, well, not many teams win premierships if they don't believe in themselves, so it's a great quality to have.
When you haven't been constantly refit the defence recently, how challenging is it? I know you do with Franklin, Ruffin and Hale.
Yeah, well, that's a massive challenge. Yeah, and I guess generally the strength of defensive units are the fact that you've played together, for a fair chunk of the season. You understand how each other operates, and you can give players a bit of a chop out, and you have that nice bond. And I guess the most fortunate part about it is our key and experienced defenders have played most games this year. So if you look at Riley, Rutten, Dowdy, they're our 3 most experienced guys. In the last couple of weeks, they've been absolutely outstanding. So I guess you've got that really strong backbone, and it's much easier for a couple of players to come and step into that if they feel as if they've got the support of those really experienced guys there. And I think those guys have stood up really well. I think Brodie Smith has been outstanding the last 2 weeks, and David McKay as well. So we've been fortunate that I think our backline's been our strength, and Luke Thompson came in and was able to play a role under a really difficult situation. One game previous to a final, that's a big step up for Luke, and I thought he was pretty solid. And Rick Henderson the same, hadn't played an AFL game since the GWS game up at Skoda Stadium, and what we've seen all year is that that players that miss a significant amount of footy, and even coming from SNFL, it is a really big jump up, and you add that step up, making it a final as well. And I thought those 2 guys showed great composure to be able to stand up when needed.
How much are you looking at Brodie Barnes?
Yeah, look, Brodie's in good form. Brodie's very versatile in his ability to play both forward and back. He's also been used for the midfield for us as well. So, it's one of the things that has been important for us all year. We've had guys that have been able to play a multitude of positions. So Brodie certainly gives us that flexibility, and he's been in great form with Sturt. So he's been playing sort of a bit of mid-forward and kicking goals for Sturt. So he'll be right in the mix.
And how do you deal with those players who've had some mixed form in the 2 finals?
How do we deal with them? Look, I guess you deal with it like you would any other game, where you look down, you sit down, you review, and talk about the things they did well and the areas they need to work on. So like finals is just yes, the stakes are high, but you still got to go through the same processes, and we just make sure that players are handling the. I guess there's a little bit of extra pressure, so that burden that comes with it, but. By and large, we've been happy with how the guys have handled that pressure, and we'll continue to guide them through as best we can.
You need to get your best to beat Hawthorn, everyone knows that. How far or off your best have you been in the past 2 games? How much can you improve?
Look, how do you put a figure on that? It's very, very difficult. Certainly the first quarter and a half, you would say that we didn't play that well in terms of taking opportunities. Probably our goal kicking is one area, particularly early in the match. I think we were 4-7, so our second half we kicked a bit straighter, so we kick 8-2 or something in the second half. That's much better. But the previous game, obviously, against Sydney, and the first quarter and a half against, or probably first half against Fremantle, we just missed some opportunities inside our forward 50. So we'll have to make those kicks and be able to finish well to win the game.
Just with Henderson, as you said at the end of with Henderson going back at the end of the game on the weekend, do you think you can go into the game six, or do you need to bring another defender in?
Yeah, look, I don't know. We'll have to. That'll be something we'll discuss at match committee. You know, you sit down again, you look at how Hawthorn are going to line up. They'll make some changes. They've got some players coming back into the side, so whether that affects who plays forward or not for them, you know, we'll just wait and see. But Rick, one of the good things about Rick, he's a very flexible player as well. He's got great speed. He kicks the ball very well. And we saw earlier in the year we had some injuries against Port in one of the showdowns, and he goes from defence up forward and kicks six. You know, so that ability to have that flexibility is really important.
What's allowed so many players to go from being ignored to probably all Australians to know?
You want to be more specific? Who's been ignored that's going to be an All-Australian?
Well, they went in and considered for All-Australian selection last year, and now they're absolutely certain.
Well, if you look at Jacobs, Walker, who else is a young player in there? Dangerfield. I think, what are they, 22, 23 years of age? So, you know, players generally, so they're probably in their fourth or fifth season with the club. There's probably not many 20 or 21-year-olds in that All-Australian squad. So generally players build up towards that, and as they gain experience, they gain confidence. And you know, we saw glimpses of both Taylor and Patrick and even Sam Jacobs last year, where you sort of you thought that they've got some really good qualities that we need to keep to develop to become A-grade players. And you know, full credit to them. They've worked really hard at it and been able to elevate themselves to that status. You know, Scott Thompson, you'd argue, was probably where he was last year in terms of the quality that he's been able to produce, and Brent Riley has really grown into his role across half-back. So, you know, if you looked crystal balling last year, you know, Riley's probably the real surprise pack, and we've been rapt with how he's embraced his position. But, you know, I would have said reasonably confidently in the next couple of years, the expectation on Walker, Dangerfield and Jacobs is they would be pushing towards where they are now.
Mike, you've obviously got a big task this week, and your attention's fully focused on that, but any contact from Port Adelaide?
No, like you said, I've got a huge task this week, and I sort of don't really want to hear from them this week, to be quite honest. So, just concentrating on the job at hand.